They thought she was nobody. They were about to find out how wrong they could be. The courthouse hallway smells like disinfectant and broken dreams. A woman sits alone on the wooden bench. Her clothes are wrinkled. Her hair needs washing. The bailiff wrinkles his nose when he walks past. "Next case," Sheriff Tommy Brooks calls out. His voice echoes off the marble walls. Vagrancy, public disturbance. The woman stands slowly. Her back aches. She's been waiting 3 hours in this place that reeks of injustice. "That's me," she says quietly. Brooks looks her up and down. His lip curls in disgust. "Course it is. Move along, lady. Judge Morrison's got better things to do than waste time on your kind." She walks toward the courtroom doors. Her footsteps are steady, confident. Then she spoke her first words to the court. They thought she was nobody. They were about to find out how wrong they could be. The courthouse hallway smells like disinfectant and broken dreams. A woman sits alone on the wooden bench. Her clothes are wrinkled. Her hair needs washing. The bailiff wrinkles his nose when he walks past. "Next case," Sheriff Tommy Brooks calls out. His voice echoes off the marble walls. Vagrancy, public disturbance. The woman stands slowly. Her back aches. She's been waiting 3 hours in this place that reeks of injustice. "That's me," she says quietly. Brooks looks her up and down. His lip curls in disgust. "Course it is. Move along, lady. Judge Morrison's got better things to do than waste time on your kind." She walks toward the courtroom doors. Her footsteps are steady, confident. Then she spoke her first words to the court. "Your Honor, I request proper legal representation under the Sixth Amendment." Judge Jake Morrison stops shuffling his papers. Brooks freezes mid-step. Most homeless people mumble. Most defendants plead. This woman speaks like she's reading from a law book. "I also request to examine the charging documents personally, as guaranteed under Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, Rule 16. Morrison's mouth hangs open. Brooks recovers first. "Lady, this ain't federal court. This is municipal traffic violations. You're here for sleeping in the park." She turns toward him. Her eyes are calm. Too calm. "Actually, Sheriff, municipal courts fall under federal jurisdiction when constitutional violations occur, which they have." The court clerk, Maria Wilson, looks up from her computer. Something about this woman's voice sounds familiar. Something about the way she holds herself. Morrison bangs his gavel. "Ma'am, you don't need fancy lawyers for a $50 fine. Just plead guilty and we'll all go home." "I decline to enter any plea until I review the arrest documentation. I also question this court's jurisdiction over federal constitutional matters." Brooks steps closer. His hand rests on his weapon. "Listen, lady. My name is Diane Taylor. Please address me properly." The name hits Maria Wilson like electricity. She's heard that name before. Recently. Very recently. Morrison's face reddens. "Miss Taylor, you're trying my patience." This is a simple vagrancy case. Diane pulls a pen from her pocket. She starts writing on the back of her citation. Her handwriting is precise, elegant, each letter perfectly formed. Maria Wilson stares at the handwriting. Her breath catches in her throat. She's seen that exact handwriting before. On federal court documents, on Supreme Court opinions, on cases that made national headlines. Brooks notices Maria's reaction. "Something wrong, Wilson?" Maria Wilson's face goes completely white. Her hands shake as she reaches for her phone. She needs to call her supervisor. She needs to call him right now. Because if she's right about who this woman really is, everyone in this courtroom is about to become very famous, and not in a good way. Morrison slams his gavel 3 times. "Miss Taylor, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't cooperate." Diane continues writing. Her pen moves steadily across the paper. Your Honor, holding a defendant in contempt for exercising constitutional rights would constitute a federal civil rights violation under Section 1983. Brooks laughs. Listen to this one. Thinks she's a lawyer. I'm familiar with legal procedure, yes. Familiar? Morrison sneers. Lady, you look like you haven't showered in a week. Maria Wilson types frantically on her computer. She's searching federal databases, court records, Supreme Court archives. Her fingers fly across the keyboard. Diane sets down her pen. Your Honor, I notice several procedural violations in my arrest. First, no Miranda warning was given. Second, no probable cause was established for the initial stop. Third, enough, Brooks shouts. You're gonna plead guilty and pay the fine, or we're gonna have problems. Are you threatening me, Sheriff? The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Something in Diane's voice has changed. It's still quiet, but there's steel underneath now. Morrison shifts uncomfortably. Sheriff Brooks, let me handle this. But Brooks is already moving. His face is red with anger. I've had enough of this nonsense. You're nothing but a vagrant causing trouble. Diane stands perfectly straight. I invoke my right to remain silent under the Fifth Amendment. I invoke my right to counsel under the Sixth Amendment. I invoke my right to due process under the 14th Amendment. Your rights, Brooks spits. You got no rights except what we give you. Maria Wilson's computer screen flickers. Search results start populating. Her eyes widen as she reads. Furthermore, Diane continues, this court lacks proper jurisdiction for constitutional violations. Any conviction here would be immediately appealable to federal court. Morrison pounds his gavel. That's it. I'm holding you in contempt. On what grounds, Your Honor? Disrupting these proceedings. By exercising my constitutional rights? Brooks steps closer. His shadow falls over her. You think you're smart, don't you? I think I understand the law. The law? Brooks laughs. I am the law in this county. Diane tilts her head. Actually, Sheriff, the law is whatever the Constitution says it is. And the Constitution is interpreted by federal judges, not local sheriffs. Maria Wilson gasps audibly. On her screen, she's found what she was looking for. Morrison notices. Wilson! What's wrong with you? Maria's hands are shaking. Sir, I need to make a phone call. Not now, Morrison snaps. But Maria is already dialing. Her supervisor's number. Emergency line. Brooks turns back to Diane. You know what I think? I think you're running some kind of scam, trying to sound smart to get out of paying fines. I'm simply exercising rights guaranteed by the Constitution. Constitution don't apply to people like you. The words hang in the air like poison gas. Diane's expression doesn't change. People like me? You know what I mean. Actually, I don't. Please clarify. Brooks' face twists into an ugly smile. Homeless, worthless, taking up space decent people pay taxes to maintain. I see. Morrison nods approvingly. Sheriff Brooks is right. This court doesn't have time for troublemakers. Diane reaches into her pocket again. She pulls out a small device. It looks like a hearing aid. What's that? Brooks demands. Medical device. For a hearing condition. She adjusts it carefully. A tiny red light blinks once. Maria Wilson's supervisor answers her call. His voice is sharp with concern. Maria? What's the emergency? She whispers into the phone. Sir, we have a situation. A woman named Diane Taylor is in night court. I think she might be... She trails off, staring at her computer screen. Morrison slams his gavel again. Wilson! Hang up that phone immediately. But Maria keeps talking. Her voice gets higher with each word. Sir, the handwriting matches. The legal knowledge. Everything matches. Her supervisor goes quiet for a long moment. Maria, are you absolutely certain? Yes, sir. I'm looking at the comparison right now. Brooks moves toward Maria's desk. I said hang up. Diane speaks again. Her voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. Sheriff Brooks, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Something in her tone makes him freeze. Why not? Because federal witnesses are watching. Morrison laughs nervously. Federal witnesses? Lady, you're delusional. Diane adjusts her hearing device again. The red light blinks twice. Am I? Brooks's hand moves toward his weapon. That's it, Brooks shouts. I'm adding resisting arrest to your charges. Diane hasn't moved. She stands perfectly still, hands at her sides. I'm not resisting anything, Sheriff. You're disrupting court proceedings, interfering with justice. I'm exercising constitutional rights. Morrison stands up behind his bench. His face is flushed with anger. Miss Taylor, you're being held in contempt of court. Bailiff. The bailiff approaches hesitantly. He's young, nervous. This isn't what he signed up for. Brooks grabs Diane's arm roughly. Come on, let's go. She doesn't resist. Sheriff, you're committing assault under color of authority. Federal crime, section 242. Shut up. He yanks her toward the defendant's chair, forces her to sit. Morrison pounds his gavel repeatedly. Order in this courtroom! Maria Wilson is still on the phone with her supervisor. Her voice is urgent now. Sir, they're about to arrest her. Should I... Wilson, Morrison screams. Hang up that phone or you're fired. Maria looks at her screen, looks at Diane, makes a decision that will change her life forever. She doesn't hang up. Instead, she starts recording with her phone's video camera. Brooks looms over Diane. You think you're better than us? Think your fancy words make you special? I think everyone deserves equal treatment under the law. Equal treatment? His voice drips with contempt. You people always whining about equal treatment. Diane's eyes narrow slightly. You people? Brooks realizes he's said too much, but he's too angry to care. Yeah, you people. Always playing the victim. Always crying racism. Morrison nods eagerly. Exactly. Sheriff Brooks is absolutely right. Diane adjusts her hearing device one more time. The red light blinks 3 times now. I see. So this is about race. This is about respect, Brooks shouts. Respect for authority. Whose authority? Mine! This court's the system. Diane's voice remains perfectly calm. And what happens when the system is corrupt? Brooks's face goes purple with rage. That's it! His hand flies through the air. The slap echoes through the courtroom like a gunshot. Diane's head snaps to the side. A red mark blooms across her cheek. But she doesn't cry, doesn't scream, doesn't even touch her face. She just turns back to look at Brooks directly. The sound echoed through the silent courtroom, but Diane Taylor just smiled. Maria's phone captured everything. The bailiff steps back in shock. Even Morrison looks uncomfortable now. Sheriff, Morrison says quietly. That might have been... Might have been what? Brooks snarls. She had it coming. Diane speaks again. Her voice is steady as stone. Sheriff Brooks, you have just committed aggravated assault under color of authority. Federal hate crime enhancement applies due to racial motivation. That's a minimum of 10 years in federal prison. Brooks laughs, but it sounds forced now. You threatening me? I'm informing you of federal sentencing guidelines. Federal this, federal that. Lady, we're in county court. Federal government don't care about county business. Diane's smile grows wider. Don't they? Something in her tone makes Morrison shift nervously. The bailiff notices it too. The way she's not afraid. The way she seems almost satisfied. like this is exactly what she wanted to happen. Brooks grabs her arm again. You're under arrest for contempt of court, resisting arrest, and disturbing the peace. Add assault on a police officer, Morrison suggests. She threatened you. I quoted federal law, Diane corrects. Very different things. Brooks cuffs her hands behind her back. The metal clicks shut. Walk, he commands. As they head toward the holding cell, Diane speaks one more time. Maria Wilson, please ensure your recording is properly preserved. It's about to become very important evidence. Maria's hands shake as she saves the video file, backs it up to the cloud, sends a copy to her supervisor. Brooks shoves Diane toward the cell door. But as the metal bars clang shut, she's still smiling, like she knows something they don't, something big. Maria Wilson stares at her computer screen. The comparison is undeniable. The handwriting matches perfectly. Every loop, every curve, every precise angle. She's looking at federal court documents signed by Justice Diane Taylor, Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, the same woman sitting in their holding cell. Her supervisor's voice crackles through the phone. Maria, what exactly are you telling me? Sir, I think we just arrested a Supreme Court justice. Silence on the other end. Long, heavy silence. That's impossible. The handwriting matches federal documents from last month. The legal knowledge, the way she talks, everything matches. More silence. Morrison notices her distress. Wilson! I told you to hang up. She covers the phone with her hand. One moment, Your Honor. Her supervisor's voice returns, careful now. Maria, if what you're saying is true, it is true. Then we have a very serious situation. Brooks returns from the holding cell, grinning with satisfaction. Problem solved. She'll cool off back there overnight. Maria looks at him with new eyes. If she's right about Diane Taylor's identity, Brooks just assaulted a federal judge, on camera, with racial slurs, in front of witnesses. Her supervisor speaks again. Maria, I'm making some calls. Don't let anyone leave that courthouse. Sir? If she's who you think she is, this is now a federal matter. Potentially a national incident. Maria's blood runs cold. Morrison walks over to her desk. Wilson, what's got you so spooked? She can't tell him. Not yet. Not until she's absolutely certain. Nothing, Your Honor. Just checking some procedural questions with my supervisor. Brooks overhears. Procedural questions? About what? About arrests in municipal court. What's to question? We arrested a vagrant. Case closed. Maria pulls up more federal databases. Supreme Court personnel records. Recent photos from judicial conferences. There she is, Justice Diane Taylor, appointed 15 years ago, known for her work on civil rights cases. The photo shows an elegant woman in judicial robes, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, but the eyes are the same, the bone structure, the way she holds her head. It's her. It's definitely her. Maria's supervisor returns to the call. Maria, I've made contact with federal authorities. They're very interested in this situation. What should I do? Document everything. Preserve all recordings. And whatever you do, don't let Sheriff Brooks destroy any evidence. Too late for that advice. Brooks is already at his desk, deleting files from his computer. Sheriff, Maria calls out. What are you doing? Cleaning up paperwork. None of your business. But Maria can see his screen. He's deleting arrest reports, body camera footage, dispatch recordings, everything from tonight. Morrison joins him. Good thinking, Sheriff. No point keeping unnecessary files. They're covering their tracks, destroying evidence of what just happened. Maria makes a decision. She opens her desk drawer and pulls out a portable hard drive. Quietly, she starts copying files from the court's server. All of tonight's proceedings, all the recordings, everything. Her supervisor speaks again. Maria, federal agents are en route, ETA 20 minutes. Federal agents? This is bigger than you realize. If Justice Taylor has been conducting an undercover investigation, the pieces start falling into place. An undercover investigation. That would explain everything. The way Diane dressed, her presence in their courthouse, her perfect legal knowledge, her complete lack of fear. Brooks walks back toward the holding cell. Think I'll check on our guest. Make sure she's comfortable. Maria panics. Sheriff, I don't think... Don't think what? She can't tell him the truth. Not yet. But she can't let him hurt Diane either. Maybe we should wait for morning. Process everything properly. Morrison frowns. Since when do you tell us how to run our courtroom? I'm just suggesting. You're just overstepping, Brooks interrupts. Stay in your lane, Wilson. He disappears into the back hallway, toward the holding cells. Maria's supervisor speaks urgently. Maria, what's happening now? Sheriff Brooks is going back to see her. Alone? Yes. That's not good. If she's gathering evidence for a federal investigation, he could compromise everything. Or worse. Maria knows what he means by worse. Brooks has a temper. Everyone knows it. And he just assaulted a federal judge on camera. He might decide to eliminate the evidence entirely. Her phone buzzes with a text message from an unknown number. Federal agents outside courthouse. Do not let subjects leave premises. Do not allow destruction of evidence. Critical operation in progress. Maria's hands start shaking. This is really happening. Morrison notices her distress. Wilson, you look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine, Your Honor. But she's not fine. Nothing is fine. Because in the holding cell, a Supreme Court justice is sitting alone with a corrupt sheriff who just realized he might be in serious trouble, and federal agents are closing in. Maria's supervisor went completely silent. Then he said 3 words that changed everything. Federal marshals activated. Brooks had no idea what was coming, but Maria did. And it was going to be bigger than anything this small courthouse had ever seen. Diane sits calmly in her holding cell. The concrete walls are cold. The fluorescent light flickers overhead. She reaches up and adjusts her hearing device once more. This time she speaks quietly into it. Control, this is Justice Taylor. Phase 1 complete. A tiny voice responds in her ear. Copy, Justice Taylor. All units in position. Outside the courthouse, black SUVs park silently along the street. Men in dark suits step out. They wear earpieces and carry federal badges. Inside, Brooks walks toward the holding cell. His boots echo on the tile floor. Having second thoughts yet? He calls out. Diane doesn't respond. I asked you a question. She looks up at him through the bars. I'm exercising my right to remain silent. Brooks pulls out his keys. Maybe sometime alone will change your attitude. He unlocks the cell door. Maria Wilson watches from the main courtroom. Her heart pounds. She can't hear what they're saying, but she can see Brooks entering the cell. Her phone buzzes again. Another text from the unknown number. Federal agents now inside building. Maintain positions. Do not interfere. Federal agents are already inside the building. She looks around the courtroom. Everything appears normal. Morrison is at his desk. The bailiff is reading a magazine. No sign of federal agents anywhere. Then she notices something odd. The janitor mopping the hallway. She's never seen him before. The security guard by the front door. Different person than usual. The maintenance worker fixing the light fixture. Working awfully late for maintenance. They're not courthouse employees. They're federal agents. And they've been here all along. Watching. Waiting. Recording everything. Maria realizes the truth hits her like a physical blow. This whole thing was planned. Diane Taylor came here on purpose. She wanted to be arrested, wanted Brooks to lose his temper. She was gathering evidence, and everyone played right into her hands. In the holding cell, Brooks steps closer to Diane. "You think you're smart, don't you?" "I think I'm exactly where I need to be." Something in her tone stops him cold. "What's that supposed to mean?" Diane stands up slowly. "It means, Sheriff Brooks, that your corruption investigation is now complete." Corruption investigation? 18 months of evidence, recorded conversations, financial records, civil rights violations. Brooks' face goes white. "You're lying." "Am I?" She points to her hearing device. "Audio recording equipment, federal grade. Everything you've said tonight has been transmitted to federal authorities." Brooks stumbles backward. "You're bluffing. Your offshore account in the Cayman Islands, account number ending in 8834, deposits totaling $847,000 over the past 5 years. Brooks' knees nearly buckle. Only law enforcement would know those details. High-level law enforcement. Federal law enforcement. The database search result made Maria gasp, because she just realized who was really in control here. Federal agents were already inside the building, and Brooks had walked directly into their trap. Brooks backs away from Diane like she's radioactive. "Who are you?" "Someone who's been watching your operation very carefully." His voice cracks. "What operation?" "The systematic violation of civil rights in this county. The pattern of targeting minorities with false charges. The money laundering through court fines." Brooks grabs the cell bars for support. "You can't prove any of that." Diane reaches into her shoe, pulls out a small recording device. "Actually, I can." She presses play. Brooks' voice fills the cell. "Constitution don't apply to people like you." Morrison's voice. "Sheriff Brooks is absolutely right." Brooks again. "You people always playing the victim, always crying racism." Then the sound of the slap. Brooks lunges for the device. "Give me that." But Diane steps back calmly. "Sheriff, you're now adding attempted destruction of federal evidence to your charges." Federal evidence? This recording, along with 18 months of similar recordings, constitutes evidence in a federal civil rights investigation. Brooks's hands shake. 18 months? I've been living in this county since January of last year. Documenting everything. The truth crashes over him like a tsunami. She's been undercover. This whole time, every arrest he made, every case he fixed, every bribe he took. She was watching. "The homeless shelter on Maple Street," Diane continues. "I lived there for 6 months. Witnessed your officers conducting illegal searches, demanding sexual favors from female residents. Brooks can't speak. The traffic stops on Highway 9, always targeting Black and Hispanic drivers, always finding reasons to search vehicles, always discovering mysterious amounts of cash that never made it to evidence. His world is collapsing. The jail commissary markup scheme, charging inmates triple price for basic necessities, keeping the profits for yourselves. Each accusation hits him like a physical blow. Morrison appears in the hallway. "Sheriff? Everything okay back here?" Diane smiles. "Judge Morrison, perfect timing. I was just telling the sheriff about your involvement in the case-fixing scheme." Morrison's face goes gray. "Case-fixing scheme?" "The arrangement with local attorneys. They pay you to dismiss charges. You split the money with Sheriff Brooks. Very profitable system." Morrison stumbles against the wall. 89 wrongful convictions over the past 3 years, Diane continues. Federal investigators have reviewed every case. Every victim will be compensated. Brooks finds his voice. "You can't be federal. You're just a homeless woman." Diane reaches up to her hearing device one more time. Control, this is Justice Taylor. Request immediate backup. The voice in her ear responds clearly. Federal marshals en route to your location. Brooks and Morrison hear it too. Justice Taylor. Not Miss Taylor, not Diane Taylor. Justice Taylor. Morrison's legs give out. He slides down the wall to the floor. You're a federal judge, he whispers. Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Diane corrects. And you gentlemen have just provided me with everything I needed to shut down your operation permanently. The sound of heavy footsteps echoes from the main courthouse. Federal marshals. Lots of them. Brooks makes one last, desperate attempt. He reaches for his weapon. I wouldn't, Diane says calmly. Why not? She points to the ceiling. Surveillance cameras. Installed by federal agents last month. They're watching everything. Brooks looks up. Sure enough, small cameras are mounted in every corner. How had he never noticed them before? Because he'd never thought to look. The footsteps get closer. Diane speaks into her hearing device again. Control, subjects are secure. Ready for arrest protocols. Brooks drops his hand from his weapon. It's over. He knows it's over. Morrison is crying now. My career. My family. Everything's ruined. You ruined it yourselves, Diane replies. When you decided that justice was for sale. The cell door clangs shut. But this time Brooks is on the inside. She wasn't their prisoner, they were hers. The real trial was about to begin. The courthouse doors burst open. Federal marshals pour into the building. They wear tactical gear and carry arrest warrants. United States Marshals Service, nobody move! Maria Wilson raises her hands instinctively. The lead marshal approaches her desk. Are you Maria Wilson? Yes, sir. He shows his badge. Marshal Davidson. We understand you've been assisting with a federal operation. I think so, yes. Where is Justice Taylor? Maria points toward the holding cells. Back there with Sheriff Brooks and Judge Morrison. Marshal Davidson speaks into his radio. Justice Taylor, this is Davidson. Are you secure? Diane's voice crackles back. Secure and ready for extraction. Within moments, she emerges from the cell area. The handcuffs are gone. Her posture is different now, confident, authoritative. She's not a homeless woman anymore. She's a Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Brooks and Morrison follow behind her, now wearing federal restraints. Maria Wilson stares in amazement. Justice Taylor, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you sooner. Diane smiles warmly. Ms. Wilson, you performed admirably under pressure. Your recording may have saved this entire operation. You planned all of this? 18 months of planning. Your courage tonight ensured our evidence would be legally admissible. Marshal Davidson steps forward. Justice Taylor, we have arrest warrants for 17 additional suspects across 5 counties. Excellent work, Marshal. Brooks is loaded into a federal transport vehicle, his empire of corruption crumbling around him. Morrison weeps as they read him his rights. The bailiff and court security are questioned and released. They weren't part of the conspiracy. Maria Wilson is praised for her integrity and offered a position with the federal court system. Justice Diane Taylor, Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, officially resumes her true identity. The courthouse that had witnessed so much injustice tonight will now become the epicenter of the largest civil rights prosecution in decades. But the investigation was just beginning. 3 more counties were about to be raided. The corruption went much deeper than anyone imagined. Federal prosecutors arrive at dawn. They carry boxes of evidence and computers full of data. Lead prosecutor Amanda Richards addresses the assembled law enforcement officials. Ladies and gentlemen, Operation Justice Served has been in development for 3 years. What you witnessed tonight was the culmination of the most extensive civil rights investigation in this district's history. She opens the first evidence box. Layer 1. audio and video surveillance. 18 months of hidden recordings. Every conversation Brooks had with corrupt officials, every bribe negotiation, every racist comment. Justice Taylor wore federal recording equipment during her entire undercover assignment. We have over 400 hours of admissible evidence. The recordings play on speakers throughout the courthouse. Brooks's voice: "These people don't deserve the same rights as real Americans." Morrison's voice: "How much is Judge Stevens asking for the Richardson dismissal?" County Attorney Williams: "Make sure the black ones get maximum sentences." Keeps them in line. Each recording is more damning than the last. Layer 2, financial evidence. Bank records from 7 different offshore accounts. Wire transfers totaling $3.2 million over 5 years. Sheriff Brooks received payments for every wrongful arrest. Judge Morrison took bribes for case dismissals. County Attorney Williams sold plea bargains to the highest bidder. The paper trail is overwhelming. Every transaction documented. Every bribe recorded. Swiss accounts, Cayman Island deposits, cryptocurrency transfers. This operation generated more illegal revenue than most drug cartels. Maria Wilson watches in amazement as the full scope becomes clear. Layer 3, case file evidence. Prosecutor Richards opens filing cabinets full of falsified documents. 89 wrongful convictions. Evidence was planted, witnesses were intimidated, and constitutional rights were systematically violated. She pulls out specific files. James Washington, convicted of drug possession. The drugs were planted by Sheriff Brooks. James served 3 years for a crime he didn't commit. Another file. Sarah Martinez, convicted of assault. The alleged victim was paid $5,000 to lie in court. Sarah lost her job and her children while serving 18 months in prison. File after file. Life after life destroyed by corruption. Every single victim will receive full compensation and legal vindication. Justice Taylor steps forward to address the assembled crowd. This investigation began with a personal tragedy. 20 years ago, my younger brother Marcus was wrongfully convicted in this courthouse. The room falls silent. Marcus Taylor was 19 years old when Sheriff Brooks arrested him for armed robbery. The evidence was fabricated. The witnesses were coerced. My brother died in prison 3 years later. Her voice remains steady, but emotion flickers in her eyes. I became a federal judge to prevent this from happening to other families. When reports of systematic corruption in this county reached the Supreme Court, I volunteered to go undercover. She pauses, collecting herself. I spent 18 months living in homeless shelters, eating at food banks, experiencing firsthand how this corrupt system treats the most vulnerable members of our society. The weight of her sacrifice hits everyone in the room. I watched Sheriff Brooks plant evidence on dozens of innocent people. I saw Judge Morrison take bribes in his chambers. I witnessed County Attorney Williams fabricate charges against people who couldn't afford proper representation. Justice Taylor's voice grows stronger. Every day I documented their crimes. Every night I transmitted evidence to federal authorities. Every week the case against them grew stronger. She turns toward Brooks, who sits in federal custody. Sheriff Brooks, you told me the Constitution doesn't apply to people like me. You were wrong. The Constitution applies to everyone, and today it's going to apply to you. Prosecutor Richards continues the evidence presentation. Operation Justice Served has identified corruption in 17 law enforcement agencies across 5 counties. Tonight's arrests are just the beginning. She projects a map on the wall. The conspiracy involves 43 law enforcement officials, 12 judges, 8 prosecutors, and 15 defense attorneys. Total proceeds from corruption exceed $15 million. The scope is staggering. Federal charges include civil rights violations, racketeering, money laundering, witness tampering, evidence fabrication, and judicial corruption. Each charge carries decades in federal prison. Sheriff Tommy Brooks faces a minimum of 25 years in federal custody. Judge Jake Morrison faces 20 years. County Attorney Williams faces 18 years. Justice is finally being served. But Justice Taylor isn't finished. The victims of this corruption deserve more than just monetary compensation. They deserve systemic change. She announces the creation of a federal oversight program. Every small county courthouse in America will now be subject to federal civil rights monitoring, surprise inspections, mandatory training, zero tolerance for constitutional violations. This case will prevent similar corruption nationwide. Additionally, every wrongfully convicted individual will have their record expunged, their civil rights restored, their reputation cleared. Maria Wilson raises her hand. Justice Taylor, what happens now? Now, Ms. Wilson, we begin the healing process. We restore faith in our justice system. We prove that no one is above the law. Justice Taylor's personal revelation completes the emotional journey. Her brother had died in prison because of their lies. 23 more officials would be arrested by morning. But Diane's real work was just beginning, because this case would reshape how justice works in America, forever. 6 months later, federal court convictions are final. Sheriff Tommy Brooks, guilty on all counts, sentenced to 28 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. Judge Jake Morrison, guilty on all counts, sentenced to 22 years in federal prison, disbarred permanently from practicing law. County Attorney Sarah Williams, guilty on all counts, sentenced to 19 years in federal prison, disbarred permanently. The courthouse where it all began now displays a bronze plaque in memory of those wrongfully convicted, in honor of justice restored. Maria Wilson stands in her new office at the Federal District Court. She's been promoted to Senior Court Administrator. Her courage that night earned her national recognition and a permanent position in the federal system. Ms. Wilson, Justice Taylor says, entering the office, how are you settling into your new role? Wonderfully, Justice Taylor. Thank you for this opportunity. You earned it. Your integrity under pressure saved this entire operation. Maria smiles. I'm just glad we could help all those victims. The victims. 89 people wrongfully convicted. All convictions have been overturned. All criminal records expunged. James Washington received $2.3 million in compensation and a formal apology from the state. He used the money to start a non-profit legal aid organization. Sarah Martinez received $1.8 million and full restoration of her parental rights. She's now studying law, inspired by her experience to help others. Every victim received justice. Every family received closure. Justice Taylor, Maria asks, was it worth it? 18 months undercover? Diane considers the question carefully. Ms. Wilson, justice delayed is not justice denied when that delay serves a greater purpose. My 18 months of sacrifice prevented decades of future injustice. The federal oversight program Justice Taylor created has already identified corruption in 47 additional counties nationwide. Every day we prevented one wrongful conviction, we saved a life. Every corrupt official we removed from power, we protected countless future victims. Justice Taylor walks to the window overlooking the courthouse where it all happened. My brother Marcus would have been proud. His death wasn't meaningless if it prevents other families from suffering the same loss. The personal cost of her undercover work was enormous. 18 months away from her real life. 18 months of humiliation and hardship. But the results speak for themselves. Systemic reform. National precedent. Constitutional protection strengthened for everyone. Justice Taylor, the media wants to interview you about the operation. Let the evidence speak, Miss Wilson. My job isn't to be famous. My job is to ensure equal justice under law. That phrase, equal justice under law, is carved above the entrance to the Supreme Court building. For 18 months, Justice Taylor lived those words instead of just reciting them. She experienced injustice personally. She understood how the system fails the vulnerable. She used that understanding to fix the system itself. "Ma'am, there's someone here to see you." An elderly black woman enters the office. Her eyes are red with recent tears. "Justice Taylor?" "I'm Dorothy Washington. James Washington is my son." Justice Taylor embraces her warmly. "Mrs. Washington, your son is a remarkable young man. He told me what you did, how you lived like us, suffered like us, to help us." Tears flow down Dorothy Washington's cheeks. "You gave me my boy back." "You gave him his life back. How do I thank someone for that?" Justice Taylor's composure finally cracks slightly. "Mrs. Washington, you don't need to thank me. Your son's freedom is thanks enough." "No, ma'am. It's more than that. You showed us that the system can work, that there are good people fighting for us. This is why she did it, for families like the Washingtons, for justice that reaches everyone." Dorothy Washington continues, "My boy wants to be a lawyer now. Says he wants to help people like you helped him." Justice Taylor smiles through her own tears. "Then this operation was successful beyond our greatest hopes." Mrs. Washington leaves, but her words linger. The system can work. There are good people fighting for us. Justice Taylor returns to the Supreme Court building later that day. She walks past the marble columns and bronze statues, but before entering, she makes one stop: Riverside Cemetery. Section 14, Row 7, Grave 23. Marcus Taylor, beloved son and brother, justice delayed, never denied. She kneels beside her brother's headstone. "It's over, Marcus. The people who killed you are in prison. The system that failed you has been reformed." A gentle breeze rustles the leaves overhead. "I kept my promise. I made sure it never happens again." Justice Taylor places a fresh bouquet of flowers on the grave. 23 corrupt officials imprisoned. 89 victims vindicated. Millions of future citizens protected by systematic reform. Her brother's death finally has meaning. As she walks away, she carries with her the lesson that defined her entire career. True authority comes from integrity, not intimidation. Justice may be delayed, but it cannot be denied. The Constitution belongs to everyone, especially those who need it most. And sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one everyone underestimates. Justice Diane Taylor learned that lesson in a homeless shelter. She applied it in a corrupt courthouse. She proved it to the entire nation, and in doing so, she honored the memory of her brother Marcus, whose wrongful death became the foundation for rightful justice for thousands of others. The bronze plaque in the courthouse lobby will remind future generations, in memory of those wrongfully convicted, in honor of justice restored. But Justice Taylor knows the real memorial isn't made of bronze. It's made of lives saved, families reunited, and constitutional rights protected. That memorial will last forever.